the World Bank Group, to deliver the closing remarks. Mr. Sharma has over 35 years of experience, much of which has been at senior leadership positions, responsible for policy formulation, project management, developing strategic alliances, and implementation of reforms in public procurement. Till June 2022, Mr. Sharma was a global director and subsequently the senior advisor for procurement with the World Bank's governance unit. Before joining the World Bank in June 2017, Mr. Sharma was the director of the African Development Bank's Procurement and Fiduciary Services Department. He worked on procurement, financial management, and anti corruption at the African Development Bank for 14 years and handled a wide range of broad public sector governance and management issues. Mr. Sharma also served as head of operations and management at the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation in India and worked over 16 years in various capacities at Indian Railways and with two large state owned enterprises in the infrastructure sector. This exposure and experience provided him with first hand knowledge of procurement from a borrower or a beneficiary standpoint. Over to you, Mr. Sharma.
Thank you, Pamela. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you, Mr. Sharma.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thanks, Pamela. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all of you joining the session from different parts of the world. Allow me to express my gratitude firstly to ISM-INDIA and to PPPAI, particularly to Mr. Batra for inviting me to deliver this address. This event has brought together thousands of professionals from different organizations across the globe, and they are here to discuss issues of significant importance in today's world. The canvas for public procurement, and I would seek your indulgence because I will be talking more about public procurement. So the canvas for public procurement is immense, and I will limit my intervention to only a few dimensions. The COVID-19 crisis and recovery, as well as the continuously evolving globalization of economic production, actually demands a rethinking of public procurement. According to a McKinsey report that was published in 2020, procurement has led crisis recovery before, and it can do so again by strengthening supply chains, reassessing value creation, adopting innovation, agility, and digitization and analytics. I see many of these topics have been covered in this event. Today's procurement officer increasingly confronts questions that have to do with economic choices. If lowest price is no longer the default marker for successful bids, and innovation while retaining integrity is made central, how can procurement policies better achieve development outcomes? In other words, how can theory catch up to practice when a cost-effective road is a good road, but in some instances, a resilient and sustainable road, despite a reasonable markup, is a better deal? These and other uncomfortable questions have raised the role of procurement to one that leads, or at least significantly contributes to policy, technology, and capacities. This brings us to a proposition that appeared unlikely only a few years ago. Improving procurement systems and processes have real impact on governance indicators, quality of public services, and ultimately development outcomes. Specifically, better procurement saves governments or the private sector money, it improves trust, and can help mitigate social and environmental impact. Technology can reduce transaction costs and enhance competition, thereby generating savings for countries. The examples are numerous. Adjustments in procurement policies and purchasing strategies have also led to concrete savings. I'll give you an example. A study by the World Bank in Brazil demonstrated that strategic sourcing could lead to proven savings of almost $10 billion to the Brazilian government. The impact on the private sector is equally stark. Another study by the World Bank found that, tragically, the cost of payment delays could account for as much as 0.2% of the GDP across European countries and significantly more in developing countries. This is important because payment delays to the private sector are fairly common, and it affects and impacts smaller companies more than it does the bigger players. Another issue of importance today is the role of procurement in improving public trust. And this is extremely important today when we find governments are grappling with reducing trust by the citizens. Modernization of procurement systems has demonstrated enhanced transparency and reduced vulnerability to corruption, especially when supported by the right policies and institutional environment. This can combat the erosion of public trust. Through initiatives like open contracting, a global, which is open contracting, as you know, and there was an intervention earlier. Open contracting is a global transparency movement. So through these initiatives, more governments have been releasing procurement data sets to the public, and we are learning more about the actual impact of transparency on accountability, anti-corruption, and other governance dimensions. As a matter of fact, one of the initiatives that is supported by the World Bank, which is procurement, anti-corruption and transparency, called PROACT, actually uses a huge amount of data sets to try and find out whether corruption or symptoms of corruption exist somewhere. It is not often recognized, but public procurement policies can have a positive effect on social inclusion through the creation of jobs, especially for vulnerable and minority groups such as women and youth. Supporting SMEs has been identified as one way of assisting the private sector in many developing countries, and firms of any size that win government contracts create more jobs. In addition to a vibrant private sector increasing competition, the stimulation of local markets has demonstrated real economic benefits in more than a few countries. This actually brings me to a proposition. The areas where public procurement can make a difference are many. It is time that governments realize that investment in procurement research is a global good. It is in this context that I reiterate the need for a collaborative mechanism in procurement. There is much to be gained if governments, development partners, the private sector, academics, civil society, and other stakeholders work together to explore ways to improve and upgrade public procurement systems and practices. The overarching goal of this coalition should be to establish a global interface to promote the strategic use of public procurement as a critical economic planning and development tool. The global mechanism can integrate good practices from around the world to strengthen knowledge sharing and collaboration and promote globally recognized principles or benchmarks leading to ultimately what? Leading to country-owned and country-driven frameworks and metrics for procurement performance. Subsequently, this network can contribute to improving governance and oversight through support for privilege-resistant policies and increased standardization and professionalization of public procurement systems and processes. This global partnership, once created, can widen and deepen collaborative networks, learning, outreach, and supported for better coordinated, better resourced, and better targeted development assistance in public procurement. I am sure that the impact of this initiative would be immense. I see a distinct role for organizations like the ISM, PPPAI, development partners, and as a matter of fact, all of you to help create this partnership. I'm sorry. I must congratulate ISM, PPPI, the organizing institutions, Mr. Batra and his team for this conference. That this is taking place regularly and is becoming one of the most powerful events for knowledge share and networking is something that we need to all be proud of. I thank you all for your patience. Thank you. Over to you, Pamela.
Thank you for the closing remarks, Mr. Sharma. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Mr. Krishan K. Batra, CEO, Triple P AI and ISM India, and Mr. Shankar Lal, Country Procurement Lead India, the World Bank Group, for the vote of thanks.